to the University of Nottingham PGCEi webinar. My name is Helen Spiropoulos. I'm the Admissions Manager at Stafford Global. And joining me this evening all the way from the university is Dr. Ruth. Good evening to you, Dr. Ruth.
Hello, Helen. Just Ruth is fine. Good evening to you and everybody else that is joining us.
Perfect. Okay, Ruth, then it is. And thank you so much for everyone that have joined us. I can see there's quite a lot of you that have come through as far as Saudi Arabia as well as Qatar. Let me just say a happy new year to everyone while I have you online. Okay, good. So let me just give you a brief of how we are going to do the presentation this morning. So I'm going to just chat a little bit about Stafford Global. I'm then going to hand you over to Ruth, who's going to take you through the program, and then at the end of the presentation you will have the opportunity to ask any questions that myself or Dr. Ruth may be able to answer. I am going to be looking at these questions quite carefully because a lot of the questions tend to be identical, so I am going to start grouping them together, so please do look out for your question. Okay, so let's get started. Now, who is Stafford Global? Now, Stafford Global was established in 1993, and we are a resource center for distance learning education in the Middle East, and we represent 7 UK universities, one of which is the University of Nottingham, and we have a very, very long-standing relationship with the university and this particular PGCEi program. Now, we do offer a variety of programs ranging from certificates to diplomas, bachelor's, right through until masters and doctorates. So we really do have all the programs to suit your personal and professional needs. Now, the mere fact that you are here with us this evening means that you have been in communication with one of our experienced academic consultants, and our role really is to assist you throughout the application process, and we do also have some academic as well as administrative support once you do start your program. Okay, good. So I'm now going to hand you over to Ruth, who's going to take you through the program, and I will then join you towards the end of the presentation. Over to you, Ruth.
Thank you, Helen. I'm one of the tutors on the PGCEi, and I also coordinate the UAE cohort together with my colleague Jean Dyson. So hopefully we shall see you at some of the induction events and help guide you through the course. That's me, and what I'm going to go through with you guys today is the structure of the course, a little bit about the entry requirements, and hopefully I'll give you a sense of what it is like to study on the PGCEi, what it involves, what the content is about, and what the structure is about, how it's assessed and things like that, how you come to get that certificate at the end. So it includes a face-to-face element, and I think that is one of the things that makes the University of Nottingham's PGCEi that we work with Stafford on really stand out against other programmes. We come to your region, we're coming to the UAE to do some face-to-face workshops. We're coming at the end of March for a weekend of face-to-face induction, and that involves two things really. It involves an overview of the course, a practice of the types of skills that you need on the course, and it also introduces you to the first of the 3 modules on the course. So we've got that face-to-face element on the PGCEi, and it follows through from that weekend in an asynchronous structure, and that means you can work at your own pace as you go through the modules, and there are kind of set deadlines to get your work in, and there are dates to get certain things sorted by, but you choose when you work in terms of your week and things like that, so it can fit in quite nicely. You've got support from your tutor throughout the course. So following the face-to-face workshops, you'll be in touch with your tutor through email, and you'll also have an online one-day event at the start of each of the other 2 modules after you've done the first one, where you work together with your colleagues on the course and your tutor to familiarise yourself with some of the materials and the themes for what's coming up in the next chunk. Okay. The focus of this course is reflecting on your practice. Okay, so we share with you various theories about how children learn, theories about ways of teaching that can work really well and why they work well. And what we want you to do is think about how that links to your role. Now, you might be a classroom teacher, you might be a learning support assistant, you might be a head teacher. We have all kinds of students on the course, and it's designed in a way to make the educational theory relevant to what you do. That's your role. You, in your writing and in your reflections, in the work that you produce, you're finding the bits that are most relevant for you, and you are reflecting on what you do, okay, in your practice. And I think I might have skipped a slide there, so let's go back, because this is quite an important slide about the structure of the course. There's 3 modules, so the course is basically split into 3. The first one is about your aims and values around education, what we think the purpose of education is. And it's a really exciting and quite unique chance to kind of stand back and ask why we educate children, why you do what you do, and how you want to do it. Okay, how you know, you really want to be the best teacher you can and the best educator you can. The second module moves on to learning theory, and that focuses in on how children learn. We look at different theories about it, and you'll focus on one in particular and how that influences and informs some of the ways that you teach. And all of this is connected to international context. All 3 modules are. The final module is looking at understanding. So if module 2 is looking at learning and kind of how you teach, module 3 is looking at understanding and how you assess what you've taught. So it all links together, all 3 modules, quite nicely. And that third one gives you a chance to reflect on how you really come to know as an educator that those students in front of you understand what you've told them. I think if you've been a classroom teacher like I have, or you've been in classes with children, you'll probably understand that just because you've told a child something doesn't mean they know it. So how does understanding work, and how do we actually really get to the bottom of whether they know it or not, and the depths of which they know it, whether they'll know it again in a few months' time, or whether they can just recall it because they've memorized it. So we kind of deal with these things on the course, the learning, the understanding, in a little bit more depth than perhaps you've thought about them previously in your practice, and we combine that with that kind of everyday hands-on skills-based stuff about being a teacher that you do every day in the classroom. Okay, so the idea is we're learning about these theories and these ways of working, and then you are thinking about how they link to what you do in your role as an educator. And the way that we assess it is not from observing your teaching, it is from your writing. So each of those 3 modules finishes with a written assignment, and in that written assignment you share how some of those readings and theories that we've learnt about in the module link to what you do, because you're an expert on your role and your practice in the classroom, and you get to write about that in your final assignment and link it to the things that we've been learning about along the way. So doesn't have to be a written assignment in all 3 of the modules. There is video options as well, where you could actually do a film thing, but that's optional. And we find most students go with the written assignment, probably because it's a familiar format for some students, and for others where it's not, there's a huge amount of support with that style of academic writing, and I'll come to that in a minute. But first, just to explain how the credits of the course work, because you might have noticed it's a master's level course, so you're getting here master's credits. Now, the University of Nottingham is a Russell Group university. It's one of, you know, the top 100 universities in the world, and the School of Education in particular, here in the UK, we're in the top 10 schools of education. So you're getting master's level credits from quite a prestigious university. It's a research-based university, so we're doing some quite exciting things in terms of educational research, and our course has got some little unique elements that link to that. But what it means for you when you've completed the course is you've gained 60 master's level credits. It's not a full master's, but it can be put towards a full master's in what's called recognition of other learning. You'd get automatic entrance onto one of our MAs, which include education. We'll have pathways as well in terms of special and inclusive educational needs, educational leadership and management. So it can be, if you want, a first step along the road to getting an education master's too. If not, absolutely fine. You get the PGCEi certificate, which is 60 master's level credits kind of worth of learning there. So I think I've talked a little bit about the support and how the inductions work, how at the start of each module you work with your tutors on some of the module themes and content. But in between, while you're working through the materials, they're online for you on a platform called Moodle, and there's a range of readings, activities, discussion forum posts to keep you connected with your colleagues on the course. You'll meet a lot of people at that initial induction face-to-face event, and you'll keep that connection going with some of the discussion forums along the way as well. So it's a bit of a mix with the content of the course online for you to access when and where is convenient for you, and to work through readings, activities, including discussion forums, kind of like online group work really. So I mentioned a while ago some additional support that we offer for academic writing. This is another reason that doing the course with the University of Nottingham through Stafford can be a great stepping stone on to further academic study and education and things, because we really do share some of the important expectations and how to reach them when it comes to the style of writing that we are looking for in terms of master's assignment writing. And we've got a dedicated centre to help you, guide you in that, which is called CELI, the Centre for English Language Education, and we've designed our own PGCEi CELI course, which you'll have a few opportunities to do, and which is a tutor-led course that just coaches you through some of those academic skills. They're covered in the induction as well, but there's lots of opportunities to get some extra support with that if it's something you feel would benefit you, because there's such a range of students that join us on the PGCEi. It's one of the things I love about it. There's a lot of mature students that haven't studied for a long time, and they're students from a whole range of different disciplines as well. They might have been writing and studying in maths, in science, and education is quite different. So that's why there's a host of kind of optional dip in, dip out support for your writing from CELI. Another thing they offer is one-to-one tutorials for your writing, where you can submit a section of an assignment that you're going to give in, and they can coach you through some tips to improve that and talk you through your writing in kind of in context of a particular piece that you're working on can be really, really helpful. There's a lot in the course structure here as well that helps kind of catch you, I suppose, if you struggle at all with the academic writing side of it. The first module, for example, you don't just submit your assignment and hope for the best. The first stage of any written assignment is a plan, and that's submitted a while before the assignment itself for feedback and comments from your tutor. Once you get that back, you can start developing the longer piece of writing, and with that you get in the first module a draft. So you're not submitting the kind of all-important piece that your marks rely on initially, you're submitting a draft so that you get loads of comments and support on how to improve that before you submit the final piece itself. So if academic writing is something that you want to develop, I think this is a good place to do that, and there's a lot of support to help you. And if you're really great at it already, most of that support is optional, so you're welcome to just glide smoothly through, which some students do. So to get entrance onto the course, ideally we ask for a bachelor's degree or equivalent. So don't be shy about finding out if you would qualify to get onto the course if you've got, for example, a lot of classroom experience, but you maybe haven't got an undergraduate degree. If you're not sure, you know, nothing kind of stops you from putting in an application and finding out. And if English is not your first language, as is the case for a huge amount of our students, probably more than half, your IELTS will be required at a 6.5 or no less than 6 in 4 elements of it, in all the 4 elements of it. Okay, so the other thing that I think is important for undertaking the PGCEi is that you're in a classroom. So I've said that we want you to link the course themes to what you do, and perhaps you're a full-time learning support assistant or a full-time class teacher, which is absolutely ideal because you've got a whole host of interactions and planning and experience that you can be linking the course themes to as you're working through the modules. If you're not in that situation and you still want to do the course, we recommend making sure you've got, and it might be a volunteer placement setup of minimum 1 day a week to make sure that you've got that exposure to a classroom, connection to an educational setting. We get students that are volunteering at their children's school, for example, and things like that. I think the important thing to remember here is that it's being in a classroom, being in a learning environment, whether you're the class teacher, learning support assistant, whether you're an observer, you're learning, you're volunteering, or whether you're the head teacher. In fact, especially in cases like that, get into a classroom and you know, really immerse yourself in that connection to like planning and teaching and learning and assessment, because that's what the course is all about, and it will really help to link to that. So in terms of entry requirement, minimum a day a week really, I would say, in terms of a connection to an educational context. And it doesn't have to be, when I say classroom, we have students whose classroom is a swimming pool or a basketball court, you know, or a lecture theatre, or toddlers in, you know, Montessori kindergarten setting, absolutely all sorts. So like a lot of the things on the course, when we say classroom, you know, it really can be translated into what that means for you in your context. And as I mentioned already, we get non-standard applications, and some of those students do extremely well on the course. So these are considered on a case-by-case basis. So, you know, if you're not sure, don't just think, oh no, I won't. You never know. Have a go, find out, put in an application. Because there are things like the equivalents of that undergraduate degree, for example. The next cohort starting, which I'm very excited to be working on, has the application deadline as the 9th of February. So we would encourage you to apply as soon as you can get everything together to do that. The programme will start on that very first day of March, and we'll meet at the end of the March month in, I think it'll be in Ajman, just close by to Dubai, one of the other Emirates there, on the 28th and 29th of March. So these are compulsory course elements, because this is not an online only qualification you're getting here. It's recognised as having a face-to-face element. So the inductions are all compulsory parts of the course, and the dates for them are there. I'm going to pass over to Helen now to tell you, just to kind of round it up, and then I'm hoping you've got some questions for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. Yes, please feel free to type out any questions that you have so that we can go through them. But what I'd like to do now is just very quickly go through how you actually apply for the program. And as mentioned, you have been in communication with your personal academic consultant who has probably sent you information on this. So if you do have your degree certificate and academic transcripts, we would require a copy of these. If your degree certificate and academic transcript were issued in another language other than English, you would need to also make sure that it is translated into English. We do require at least one reference, and we normally advise that this would be someone that is ahead of you, that is at the school, that can actually do a wonderful reference for you. A personal statement of about 500 to 700 words, stating the reasons why you really want to apply and do this program, and how this program is going to benefit you once you have completed. A detailed CV is very, very important. We would like to see your working experience, the dates, the schools that you have been working at. So try and make your CV as comprehensive as possible. There is also a Nottingham application form that will be sent to you that must be completed. And we also do require a copy of your passport or your national ID. Please ensure that it is up to date and valid. And obviously, as Ruth has mentioned, for those where English is not your first language, we do require a proof of English, which is an IELTS of 6.5, or it can be any other approved English test that the university accepts. And your academic consultant will have a list of these tests as well. So please do get in touch with your academic consultant if you need more information on how to achieve that English requirement. Okay, so I have now opened everything up with regards to any questions. So let us quickly go through these questions. Okay. Right, so Fatima is the first person that has written quite a nice little brief here. She does have a master's from the University of Birmingham and used to be a teaching assistant 5 years ago, and trying to find a position and what should I do to actually do the program. Okay, so Fatima, yes, as Ruth has mentioned, you do require to have some kind of classroom access. So if you are looking for a volunteer position, this would be the best time to approach some of the schools in your region. We do have a letter that has been issued by the university, which your academic consultant can provide you, which stipulates that that is one of the requirements. And we do have many, many students in the past that actually found a successful 1 day a week, as Ruth said, a volunteer position. Okay. All right, so let's go on to, I think it's Lee's question. For access to a classroom setting, I'm currently working in academy for high school students. So although it's not a school, would this be qualified for the program? Okay, Ruth, would you like to answer that one?
Yes, thank you. I think I did mention when we say classroom, it's what a classroom means to you. So if you're working with high school students, then that's your environment for teaching in, for supporting learning in. So absolutely, yeah.
Good, excellent. Right, so then I have a question here from Leo. Can you perhaps tell me what is the difference between the PGCE and PGCE? I am getting quite confused, as there's quite a lot of universities that are emailing these, and I do not know the difference. Very good question.
Yeah, I think one thing that sets the PGCE, which tends to be a kind of qualification based in the UK, apart from the PGCEi, which is our international certificate, is what we call QTS, Qualified Teacher Status. And I think it's really important to realise that the PGCEi does not provide QTS, Qualified Teacher Status. Most PGCE programmes do provide that. They're full-time, they're a year, and I think one of the key differences is that those programs that provide QTS actually involve quite intensive observation of your teaching, and they're different in terms of looking at your, I don't know, competencies as a teacher. They're maybe not as reflective, and yeah, they're quite different. But yeah, in terms of what you can do with it after, I think what you gain from this qualification is a PGCEi certificate from the University of Nottingham, and what you want to use that for, you've got to kind of find out whether it's going to be helpful to open those doors that you want opened or not. And I know for a lot of past students, it has opened doors for them and allowed them to teach in different roles or different places. But it doesn't open every door into you know, teaching in different contexts and different places. QTS, Qualified Teacher Status, is sometimes what's required, and that isn't part of the PGCEi.
Right.
Good. Is that clear?
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to add anything, Helen.
I hope, Leo, that was actually quite clear. And I've seen there's quite a lot of questions that have come through about requiring a PGCEi, and do I require QTS in the UAE? What we always advise our applicants is to speak to your principal. It is very important to do that because every school may have a different requirement. Schools may or may not require a QTS immediately. So our advice is to contact the relevant HR or principal at your school and find out what their requirements are, okay? We cannot blanket it. Every single country and every single school has got the different requirements on that. Okay, good. And a question from Reem. You did mention once a week volunteer work, and how long should that be?
Well, ideally a full day, having a day in a school, and you know, having that throughout the course. So, you know, the course spans, it's 12 months, a little bit less actually when you take into account the, you know, time that it takes for things to go through the exam board. So I would say maintaining that, maybe in your head think, yeah, for a year, a day a week of going into a school, and you'll just, if you want to go into education or go further in it, I mean, you just do need to have that experience, I would say, in my opinion, of, you know, being in a classroom and experiencing the learners and their responses to the different ways you might approach things in terms of teaching them and supporting their learning. So yeah, a day a week through the duration of the course. When you get to your third module, you do a little research project. So you'll take a small group of students and, you know, do a kind of face-to-face little bit of research. You become an educational researcher, and you'll get, you know, some data from that, and you'll record observations or document analysis of the worksheets they produce. So there you can see why it's really important that you have, you know, children or adults, learners, whoever they are in your context, high school students, you have them in front of you to work with and access to them. You've seen their progress, you know who they are, they're familiar with you. So I think it's that regular access to an educational setting that is going to really advance your progress in the way that you'll want it to be going.
Good, good. And I do have a question from Iram, is how can we go about getting a QTS? So Ruth, I don't know if you want to answer that, or I can, it's up to you.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
okay.
I can try. It's a tricky one for me to answer because it's not, QTS isn't something that our course offers. I know, for example, if we have students that are teaching internationally and then they want to come and teach in England, then they like to get QTS because it is in England. It's not required, but it is, you know, schools very much like teachers to have it if they're a classroom teacher. So for students, for example, that have done the PGCEi, that have got a lot of experience teaching, and then that come to England, and that's why they want their QTS, I would say there are assessment only routes to QTS here in England that I think they're about 12 weeks long, and they're a bit of a kind of intensive observation of your teaching and things that get you that QTS certificate. So for example, that's one way that I'm aware of students that may want it for coming back to England, then end up getting it. But it's, in a way, it's outside of the questions I'm really qualified to answer, because yeah, it's not, you know, it's not something that this programme covers. You don't get QTS from doing this PGCEi.
Yes. Correct. So Iram, Ruth is really quite correct. What we advise our students, and many of our students have done this, is once they have completed the PGCEi, they can contact QTS directly. And as Ruth has said, there are various ways of obtaining this QTS. One of them could be an assessment-based only QTS. So that is really our advice. As Ruth has mentioned, this program does not come with QTS. So do contact QTS once you have completed the program, and they'll be able to assist you with the process thereof. Okay, good. All right, and so Reem, I will just quickly answer your question. With regards to volunteer work, you would need to speak to the school that you're going to go to, whether it's the principal or the HR manager, and then they will be able to fit a schedule for you around your particular situation. Okay, good. Right, so let us go through to some of the other questions that have come through. Okay, so you have mentioned that the PGCEi is suitable for any age bracket. Should I be focusing on primary or secondary education? What is your advice?
Ooh, what a question. Well, I taught both, interestingly, but I could only give you my opinion, which I don't think is a good idea. I would say it's really what you know, what you feel like the age group you want to teach. I don't think the course fits primary better than it fits secondary. So I think in terms of that, I would say, you know, make a decision. If you feel a bit on the fence, look at what opportunities are around you in terms of schools you can get placements in and things. I mean, ideally, I think a lot of our students are already involved in some kind of teaching or supporting learning of children, whether it's primary or secondary, and they're expanding on and kind of developing that. So I think you've got to find your path and, you know, kind of use the course to support whatever that path is. So the course isn't designed to kind of push you one way or another. Some of our students, I've got an engineers lecturer at the moment, and I've got a student that works with 2 and 3 year olds, and I've got everything in between. There's art teachers, there's English as second language teachers and TEFL teachers, PE teachers, and, you know, homeroom primary teachers. There's absolutely all sorts. And I think in a way, the beauty of the course is that some of those learning theories that we look at are very, very well established theories. They're not these fads that come and go. And, you know, they really do apply, and their work has been developed for application in primary settings, in high school or secondary settings, for online learning, for adult learning. So yeah, I don't think I'm the one to make that decision for you. I think I know some primary school teachers that are absolutely terrified in secondary schools by teenagers, and I know secondary school teachers that just feel like, I don't know if you've heard of Gulliver the Giant, with the, you know, people hanging off Gulliver's legs when they go into a primary school setting. You know, they really would do anything to avoid working with young children. So I think, you know, some people, I've worked with both, and, you know, there's pros and cons for each. But yeah, think about your experience with young people and how you communicate with people of different ages, how you come across to them, and, you know, what feels like it would offer you the most opportunities.
Excellent, good. I hope that answers that question. Quite an interesting question, that one. Okay. Okay, so all right, so we have another question here from James, and James is actually located in Saudi Arabia. My employer would like for me to try and complete the program in less than a year. Is that possible on this program?
It's not. So the learning's asynchronous, so you work through the materials when and where suits you, but it follows a structured timeline that lasts, like I say, it's slightly less than a year, but you won't be joining on the 1st of March and then getting your certificate and having completed the program before 12 months. Certainly not. We can't make the timeline any quicker.
Right. Good. And Aisha's, I hope I pronounced that correctly. Aisha's question is, I am a working professional. I have got 3 kids. How much time should I actually dedicate to this program on a weekly basis?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and probably about 8 hours a week, I think, would be the recommended guided learning time. I mean, it's not going to be probably 8 hours every week for every student. Some students might work solidly over the weekends when the assignments are done, and then have about half a day a week before that. So it spreads out differently for different people. But I think if you've got it in your head, it's about a day a week of studying. Where am I going to fit that? It can be helpful gauge for you. So I've mentioned you'd need to be classroom based for at least a day a week. That's separate. You might have that 5 days a week in your job. On top of that, you need this study time of about 8 hours a week throughout the course, and whether that's a few hours each evening, or whether it's half days at the weekend, or one full day a week, that's up to you. Some students cram loads in when they've got holidays at work, and then trickle a little bit less through when work's really busy. But there is the content of the course to work through, as well as the assessments to prepare for and write. So yeah, I would say about 8 hours a week.
Good, Ash. I hope that answered that question. And Lee, I will answer your question regarding alumni. If you do get in communication with your personal academic consultant, they will then be able to put you in touch with some of our students who successfully completed the program. This may take some time, and we need to obviously get in touch with our alumni students and obviously get their consent to pass on their details to you. But that is available to you should you require it. Okay, and Fatima, does it matter which year group I volunteer in?
I think this is a similar question actually to the primary or secondary one. I suppose the answer is no. In terms of the course, I think it matters for you, but I don't know. One role I really enjoyed actually that I've had previously is like a cover teacher in a primary school. So I got to go in all the different years, which was an excellent opportunity. So depending on how your volunteer placement, if that's what you're going to be setting up, works, you might have a chance to see the same class again and again. You might have the chance to try different year groups. But yeah, I think the short answer is no. I mean, it matters for you professionally, and it's very different teaching in early years. They're very young children to teaching what we call year 6 in England, or grade 6, which is kind of actually middle school in some places. And obviously it's very different from teaching on the IB, the IGCSE, the AP, those qualifications for your teenagers, your high school years. So yeah, it doesn't for the course, no.
Good. And Iram, I will just answer your question. If the school requires information on the program or what is expected, do get in touch with your personal academic consultant. They'll be able to provide you with a letter which has come from the university that really maps out exactly what is done on this program, what is required. Okay, so do get in touch with your academic consultant on that. And Macha has said everything is very clear for me, thank you. I found it very, very useful, and she'll be joining soon. So that's actually good to hear. Okay, good. And I have quite a lot of questions about the graduation. And yes, correct me if I'm wrong, Ruth, that you will be invited to the graduation at the university. It is a very auspicious occasion, so we really highly recommend that you do attend. Ruth, anything else that you'd like to add on that?
No, just that, you know, you get the choice. You can get the certificate sent through the post, or you can attend the graduation ceremony in person. And just working out which one it would be for you. I think it would be the summer ceremony of 2027, I suppose. And we've just, well, not just, but it feels quite recent. We've had the winter ceremony, which happens in December. And I think I had 4 UAE students there that I saw kind of walk across the stage in their gown. It's lovely if you have the opportunity to come and graduate in person, but it's certainly not required. And a lot of students choose to get the certificate sent to them, which, you know, is obviously more practical for a lot of students. But it's, you know, again, it's a choice you'll have.
Good, excellent. And Fatima, yes, as I mentioned regarding the letter from the university, your academic consultant does have that letter. Do get in touch with them and they'll be able to send that through to you, and you can forward it through to anyone at your school. Okay, good. So I have managed to actually group all the questions together, some very interesting questions that have come through. Thank you so much, Ruth, for being with us this evening, and thank you everyone for attending and for the wonderful questions. As Ruth has mentioned, the application deadline is coming up quite quickly. So it's round about the 9th of February. I do strongly advise that you send your application as soon as possible to your academic consultant. Let us get that application to Ruth and her team so they can look at your application. And if you need to meet an English requirement, you still have the time to do so. So please get in touch with your academic consultant and we can assist you with the application process. I hope to see everyone that is here tonight on the program in March, and I will see you also at the workshop. Again, Ruth, thank you so much for joining us, and I will also see you at the workshop in March.
I'm looking forward to it. I will see you there, Helen, and thanks everyone for your time this evening.